deep in the heart of China's Xinjiang province, in the vast, desolate expanse of the Taklamakan Desert, a place whose very name means, "Go in and you won't come out," sat a secret that, when finally exposed, sent shockwaves through the highest levels of global military command. It was a fleet of ships, but not one that could ever sail the open ocean. This is the story of the Phantom Fleet, full-scale mock-ups of U.S. Navy warships, built in the sand and revealed not by spies, but by a handful of dedicated, open-source intelligence analysts and a commercial satellite camera high above the Earth. It's a modern tale of espionage, strategic intent, and the surprising power of publicly available data. For years, the U.S. and its allies have monitored the development of China's most formidable new weapon, the anti-ship ballistic missile, or ASBM. Missiles like the DF-21D and the DF-26, nicknamed carrier killers, are designed to threaten the centerpiece of American naval power, the aircraft carrier. But to perfect such a revolutionary weapon, you need a realistic target, and you need a massive, unpopulated testing range. Enter the Taklamakan Desert. China's military, the People's Liberation Army, or PLA, has long used remote deserts for missile testing, including a well-known, large concrete carrier target structure at the Shuangchengzi Missile Test Range, in use since the early 2000s. But what began in 2021 was something entirely new, far more sophisticated, and much more alarming. The discovery began, as many modern military revelations do, with a commercial satellite imagery company. It was the constant systematic observation of a remote area, near the county of Roqiang in Xinjiang, that paid off. Analysts from the geospatial intelligence company All Source Analysis, scrutinizing Maxar's images, began to piece together a new, massive weapons testing facility, and what they saw was undeniable. On the ground, laid out in the sand and built with structural materials, was the unmistakable outline of a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier. This wasn't a crude old target pad. This was a detailed, full-scale outline of a supercarrier, designed to represent the very latest in American naval technology. The first public report dropped on November 7, 2021, on the website of the U.S. Naval Institute, or USNI News. The headline was stark: China builds missile targets shaped like U.S. aircraft carrier, destroyers in remote desert. The accompanying satellite image, dated October 20, 2021, provided the visual evidence. It instantly became one of the most significant pieces of open-source military intelligence in years. But the discovery was only the beginning. The real work was in the details. What exactly did these mock-ups represent? And what did they tell us about China's intentions? The evidence and analysis. Identifying the Phantom Fleet, the world's intelligence community, and the open-source community that shadows it, immediately began a meticulous, high-resolution forensic analysis of the images. The initial discovery revealed more than just a carrier. The facility was a sprawling, advanced target range, covering several miles of desert. The carrier mock-up itself was massive, full-scale, roughly the size of a U.S. Navy supercarrier. Analysts quickly determined that construction had actually begun much earlier, though the targets had been substantially rebuilt and reinforced just before the late 2021 sighting. Historical satellite imagery, like a digital archaeological dig, showed the carrier structure was first built between March and April 2019, dismantled late that year, and then substantially completed again by early October 2021. This indicated an ongoing, purposeful testing cycle. But the carrier was not alone. Near it were other shapes. Analysts identified the outline of at least 2 guided missile destroyers, modeled after the U.S. Navy's workhorse warship, the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer. These ships are the escorts, the protectors of the aircraft carrier in a typical carrier strike group. Replicating them was a crucial step in creating a realistic training environment. For the military analysts, the level of detail was the most telling feature. These were not just painted outlines on the ground. The USNI report noted that on the destroyer mock-ups, analysts had identified structural features like funnels and what appeared to be weapon systems. The mock-ups also contained what all source analysis described as extensive instrumentation, including multiple sensors, placed on and around the targets. This level of sophistication suggested the mock-ups were not just for simple impact testing. They were for target acquisition and homing, the final critical stage of an ASBM's flight. A carrier-killer missile needs to differentiate a high-value warship from other vessels, from fishing boats, or even from the surrounding land, by mimicking the radar and infrared signature of a real U.S. warship. The PLA could test the missile's advanced seekers, perhaps even those connected to nascent artificial intelligence systems, designed to pick out a specific target in a complex scenario. China itself provided a surprising clue that inadvertently confirmed the missile testing nature of the site. A model of a similar rail-mounted target was later displayed at the Zhuhai Air Show, labeled as a land-based integrated electronic Blue Army system. This public display, coinciding with the desert site's operations, provided an open-source confirmation that the mock-ups were indeed sophisticated electronic targets. The discovery of these desert ships underscored a central priority of the People's Liberation Army, developing anti-access area denial, or A2AD capabilities, designed to keep U.S. forces far away from the Chinese coastline and potential regional conflicts like Taiwan. The desert ships were a physical manifestation of this strategic goal. The static targets were a major revelation, but the new testing complex held an even more ingenious feature that suggested a commitment to simulating a real, dynamic naval conflict. For an anti-ship missile to be truly effective, it cannot merely hit a stationary target. The moment a ballistic missile begins its descent, a warship would immediately take evasive action. The only way to truly test a carrier killer is to test it against a moving target, and the desert site offered just that. Central to the Ruoxiang test range was an extensive rail system, featuring what looked like a wide-gauge, 20-foot-wide rail line. On this track sat a 75-meter-long structure with complex instrumentation. It was a specialized rail-mounted warship surrogate. This was China's answer to the challenge of a moving target. By placing a target vessel on a mobile rail system, the PLA could simulate a ship moving at speed, altering course, and potentially even performing evasive maneuvers. The system was clearly designed for high-speed use, possibly including the ability to quickly position and maneuver the target between missile launches. It was a major technological leap from the old, static concrete slab used in previous decades. The realization that the PLA was not just practicing against stationary targets, but was investing in complex infrastructure to simulate a dynamic target maneuvering at sea, elevated the threat assessment of China's ASBM program overnight. This was a clear sign of confidence in the final stage guidance systems of their missiles. Just 2 days after the initial report, on November 9, 2021, the story grew even larger. Further satellite images, again provided to USNI News by Maxar, revealed a second suspected missile target in the shape of a U.S. aircraft carrier. This second site was about 300 miles away from the first complex in the Taklamakan Desert, near the town of Ruoxiang. The two sites, separated by hundreds of miles, shared similar characteristics. Intriguingly, when viewed on a map, the carrier outlines were aligned, facing the same direction, as if they were part of a convoy. The second carrier target was a single ship, also sharing the full dimensions of a U.S. Navy carrier. Historical review of the satellite imagery showed work on this new target had begun around June 2021 and was newly finished in October. Why two sites? The construction of a second isolated target suggested the possibility of testing multiple missile types or scenarios simultaneously, or perhaps practicing the ability of a single missile to track and select the highest value target from a dispersed strike group formation. Scenario known as salvo warfare. The combined picture of the initial complex, the full-scale carrier, the two escort destroyers, the instrumented mobile target on rails, and the subsequent discovery of the second carrier target all confirmed a massive coordinated effort by the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force to practice its most critical mission, neutralizing a U.S. Navy carrier strike group in the event of a conflict. Revelation of the Desert Fleet wasn't a one-off event. It was a window into an evolving and accelerating military strategy, confirmed entirely through open-source intelligence. The analyst community continued to monitor the sites, which have repeatedly been rebuilt, modified, and used for testing in the years that followed the initial discovery. Subsequent analysis by firms like All Source Analysis and independent defense analysts continued to reveal new details and new target mock-ups. For instance, in May 2022, open-source images revealed a different naval target site, about 8 miles southwest of the initial carrier mock-up. This new site featured a full-scale pier layout and a destroyer-sized ship target, configured to mimic a vessel in port. A missile impact crater, confirmed in February 2022 images, showed that this target was successfully hit and then rapidly disassembled, a clear indicator of live fire testing. More recently, the PLA's focus appears to have shifted to the newest generation of U.S. naval assets. New satellite imagery, published in early 2024, showed a different, highly detailed carrier mock-up at the Taklamakan range, which analysts identified as closely resembling the U.S. Navy's latest and most advanced supercarrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford. This newest target, over 1,000 feet long, included specific details like the correct placement of the island superstructure and even the 4 electromagnetic catapult tracks unique to the Ford class. This high level of fidelity proves that China is not only watching the U.S. Navy's operations but is quickly incorporating the newest American warship designs into its targeting practice. The construction and continued use of these targets offer a profound insight into the strategic thinking of the PLA. First, it confirms the priority given to the carrier-killer program. Second, the extensive detail, the sensors, the rails, the precise outlines, demonstrates a focus on developing sophisticated guidance and targeting systems that rely on imaging and possibly AI, not just basic radar. The targets are not just for destroying a ship, but for identifying and targeting a specific ship within a fleet. The discovery of the Phantom Fleet remains a landmark moment in the history of open-source intelligence. It showed how commercial satellite data, coupled with meticulous analysis by independent experts, could reveal a major national security program that would otherwise be classified and hidden from public view. The technology of transparency in this case exposed the technology of war. In the world of naval strategy, the desert ships are a grim reminder that the future of naval warfare may be less about battleships and more about ballistics. They are a monument to a strategic goal, built of steel and sand, waiting in the silence of the desert for the next test. From the first faint outline spotted by an analyst high above, to the final, detailed Ford-class replica in the dunes, the saga of the U.S. warships in the Chinese desert continues to be one of the most compelling and consequential military stories of our time. It's a tale of how a desert full of decoys became the clearest map of a superpower's strategic intent. This is what the satellites found. In the heart of China's Taklamakan Desert, the Sea of Death, a ghost fleet has been built. Not a joke, not a movie set. It's a full-scale, life-size replica of the crown jewel of the U.S. Navy, the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier. 1,000 feet of American power mirrored in metal and concrete. 1,800 miles from the nearest ocean. They didn't just build a shape, they built a target acquisition blueprint. Look closer, the island, the deck layout. They are meticulously designed to fool radar, to train sensors, and to master the unthinkable, hitting a moving 100,000-ton warship, because this desert mock-up is the testing ground for the weapon specifically designed to end the era of the supercarrier. The DF-26, it has a chilling nickname, the Guam-killer. This intermediate-range ballistic missile can strike targets over 2,500 miles away. That range covers Taiwan, the South China Sea, and yes, the crucial U.S. military hub of Guam. It's an anti-access, area denial superweapon. The DF-26 is a solid-fueled intermediate-range ballistic missile, IRBM, with a range of 3,000 to 4,000 kilometers. It is road mobile, consists of 2 stages and is designed for surface-to-surface operations. However, the missile reportedly has capabilities as an anti-ship ballistic missile, ASBM, as well, targeting medium and large surface ships including aircraft carriers. China officially unveiled the DF-26 in 2015 during its V-Day parade, and has been in operation since 2016. The DF-26 is the first conventionally armed IRBM capable of reaching the U.S. territory of Guam, which houses Anderson AFB. Indeed, U.S. analysts have dubbed the missile the Guam-killer. This capability could prove critical in a regional conflict because China could effectively strike the U.S. base with conventional warheads without escalating to the use of nuclear weapons. The ASBM capabilities of the DF-26 would also put U.S. aircraft carriers in the region at risk. How do we know all this? This secret wasn't discovered by traditional spies or billion-dollar spy planes. It was exposed by the ultimate 21st century weapon: open-source intelligence. Commercial satellites, publicly available data, and analysts connecting the dots. They revealed a hidden military project that confirms Beijing's ultimate strategic priority. They aren't just building targets in the desert. They are practicing for the moment the next world war begins. Experts note that China's Navy, the Plan, is now the world's largest by number of ships. Its new hypersonic missiles, the DF-17 and DF-26, have ranges capable of reaching American bases in the Pacific. The desert targets, some now rearranged and rebuilt, are constantly updated as new warships are launched by the U.S. Each test refines accuracy, speed, and tracking algorithms. It is not a simple mark battle. It's a data war, fought through sensors, satellites, and algorithms before a single shot is ever fired. Thanks for watching this episode. If you would like to see more, please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe to our channel, Engineering for Good. See you in the next episode.